points P, Q, R, and S represent -3, -1, 0, and 2, respectively, on a number line. How many units is the midpoint PQ from the midpoint RS? For a problem like this, it's best to just label and just figure it out based on the label. So let's start with -3, -1, 0, and 2. Let's put them on here. So this is, let's say this is -3. Let's say this is -1. This is 0. And this is 2. Okay. And so P would be here. PQ would be here. R and S represents this. How many units? So how many units is the midpoint of PQ? So PQ is here. So this is PQ from the midpoint of RS, and RS is here, RS. So what is in the middle of -1 and -3, -2? Okay, and you have 0, you have 1 here. Of course, my graph or this line is not to scale. And so the question's actually asking, we can reword that question to look something like, how many units is -2? Because what is PQ? Midpoint of PQ is -2. So how many units is -2 from what is the midpoint of RS? Midpoint of RS is 1. From 1. So that's the question. And so how do we find that out? How do we find out how many units is -2 from 1? Well, you can just count how many units there are in between. So there's 1, 2, 3. That's one way of doing it. You can also find the difference between them. You can say something like the absolute value of -2 -1. What is that? Equals -3, which is 3. And again, the absolute value, all that means is the distance from 0. So how far from 0 are we? And this is saying -2, -1. So the difference between these, because that's, if you know the difference formula, and then you want to just find the absolute value of that, which will give you the same thing as 1, 2, 3. Okay.